Hello, and welcome to Grade.com Talks With. Today, we're talking with Deacon Jim Vargas, President and Chief Executive Officer at Father Joe's Villages, an organization whose mission is to prevent and end homelessness, one life at a time. And if you're new to our podcast, please press subscribe button either on YouTube or your podcast app, because today we're going to learn about an organization that has helped nearly 11,500 people achieve permanent housing in the last 10 years. Hello, Deacon. Welcome to Grade.com Talks. We're excited to have you here.
Karim, thank you for having me. I'm excited about being with you.
Wonderful. Could you please describe Father Joe's Villages for someone who is not familiar with your work?
Sure. We're the oldest homeless services provider in Southern California in the United States. We're based in San Diego, and we've been around for 71 years. In fact, this is our 71st year. And we've developed quite a unique way of applying the processes and programs that those who are on the streets need in order to be able to leave their life of homelessness and achieve self-sufficiency. And it's very uniquely and holistically tailored to the individual's needs.
Mhm. It's great that you have been in the front of helping individuals who are homeless at the time for the last 70 years, and you know all the challenges they're facing, and you have provided a support system that covers all the needs and all the elements and the barriers that happen in the life of individuals, homeless individuals. And I applaud your organization for being effective for such a long period of time. And I'm excited to learn more about how you were able to do so in detail during this conversation. But before we deep dive into your impact and your programs, could you please tell us how big of an issue is homelessness in area that you work in San Diego?
It's an excellent question. Well, in the United States, we here in San Diego have the fifth largest homeless population. And New York has the highest, followed by Los Angeles. Then there's Seattle and San Jose, and then there's San Diego. So it's quite a large problem. On any given night, there are almost 8,000 individuals who are homeless in San Diego, half of whom are unsheltered and on the streets.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that seems quite unfortunate that this is such a large problem, and the number of homeless people in San Diego seems to be, you mentioned, the fifth place in the nation, and this challenge needs to be addressed, and your organization is doing so. So it's important to highlight that this is a challenge, and this challenge needs to be provided with the solution. Could you please tell us what are some of the challenges and obstacles homeless individuals face?
Well, here in San Diego, particularly, it's an economic one. It's very much an economic one. Of course, there are other issues as well, and we'll talk about them. But it's extremely expensive to live on the West Coast in California, in the United States, and in particular San Diego, actually. So in order for you to be able to afford a one-bedroom apartment, as an example, you'd have to pay $2,000 to $2,200 basically for an apartment on a monthly basis, and that's out of reach for individuals who are on the streets and suffering economically. And so the economic aspect of this is a very big one. Of course, there are also some mental health issues as well. There's substance use disorder issues. They're the basic issues now with the pandemic of people losing their jobs and as a result falling onto hard times. So there are many issues that really comprise what is happening in the lives of those who we serve.
Yeah, it seems to be there is not one challenge. There are several challenges that homeless individuals are facing, and economic struggle seems to be the main one. And it's very unfortunate that the rising housing prices are not allowing individuals to afford home and have a safe, clean, and warm place to live their lives. And your organization is providing the shelters. Your organization is working towards their direction, but the challenge is there, and it's very unfortunate. Your organization works on 4 pillars of care. One of those pillars being meeting basic needs, including the housing and meals. Could you please tell us in detail your programs directed at meeting the basic needs?
Sure, and the basic needs, just a meal. A meal is a basic need, obviously. And last year we served over 1 million meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, in 2 dining rooms. So it's a very big aspect. During this pandemic years, there's been increased food insecurity. So actually, we've been serving more meals than usual. We've been serving them at different locations. We've had to creatively serve them. We don't have congregate dining, or we haven't had congregate dining during the pandemic. We hope to open that up at some point in time when it's safe and appropriate. But in the meanwhile, people need meals. And so we still have been serving the hot, nutritious meals in to-go packages, basically. We also have created frozen meals so that we could visit individuals who are in their homes and haven't been able to get out. So they have frozen meals that then they can heat up. And again, they're balanced meals for them as well. We've been in various locations throughout San Diego as a result of the increased food insecurity. So food is a basic need. Of course, there's shelter. In general, there's shelter. So on any given night, we provide some level of shelters to about 2,500 individuals, anywhere from emergency type shelter all the way up to affordable housing. So across the full spectrum. While we've been providing emergency shelter beds for many, many years, we realize that a shelter is not a home. It's better than being on the streets, obviously. It allows us to start connecting with individuals, to start building relationships so that we can start applying our comprehensive services. And we'll talk about that to really help them out of their plight. But we recognize that at the end of the day, a shelter is not a home. It's a means to a home. And what we really want and are striving is to help people into permanent housing. So that is, these are some of the basic needs that we're able to provide in, such as showers, and not only for our residents, but for those who are on the streets who are not necessarily residing with us in some fashion. They can come to us just for showers. I mean, we provided 30,000 showers to those who, just last year, to those who are on the streets. Again, not residing with us. Of course, we provide showers for those who are residing with us, but these are individuals who are strictly on the streets, and just getting them off the streets during inclement weather. All right, because even though San Diego is not as harsh as New York as far as its weather is concerned, still, I mean, you can suffer from hypothermia fairly quickly out there when the temperatures do drop and when it's raining and it's very cold. And these are individuals who typically have immunocompromised systems, and so they can become ill and quite readily. And so these are all the very basic things, Karim, that we offer to individuals.
Yeah, housing, emergency shelter, as well as the food are indeed basic needs. And the fact that you're able to serve 1 million servings of millions meals during last year, that's a great amount. That's a huge number. And also 2,500 individuals every night finding a shelter under your organization. That's an indication that the impact that you are creating is quite is available at a large extent, and many individuals can come and get the support that they need in terms of meeting their basic needs. The second aspect, the pillar of care that your organization is working to, is investing in children through therapeutic childcare services. Could you please tell us about this aspect of your work?
It's extremely important. Those who come to us who have children, typically these children are developmentally delayed, either academically, emotionally, socially, and sometimes all across the board because of their circumstances. They've been on the street. So our therapeutic childcare center it's not a babysitting service. It is. We have psychologists there. We have social workers there. We have teachers there. The mission there, the goal there, is to be able to help these children so that they can be at their peer level in school. Typically, they're behind their peer level, so that then they're able to thrive. Because we do know that if their circumstances are mitigated in some way, then they will be the future adults who are on the streets, or they're 4 times more apt to be homeless when they become adults. And so we want to make sure that we break that cycle for them. And so our therapeutic childcare center professionals, they basically work with their academic skills and bringing their levels up, whether it's reading or mathematics. We work with children at all age spectrums up until age 18. And from infancy, there are some parents or some women who come to us who are pregnant. And when it comes time to deliver, they go off to the hospital for a couple of days, deliver the baby, and then they come back with the baby to us. So there are this infant's the first domicile is Father Joe's Villages, right? So we work with all age spectrums there in order to help them to be able to be successful in school, and through that. While we have our preschool program, we also have an after-school program for those who are of school age, who go off to their respective schools, and then they come back to us. And then we have programs that help to further develop them and on an after-school basis. The summer is upon us now, so we have our summer program that is in place as well. So everything that we do is towards helping them out of their situation so that they can achieve self-sufficiency. The Therapeutic Child Care Center also works with the adults, with the parents. A lot of these parents haven't had good role models in parenting. And so we help them through that so they can build family bonds, which are so very important and need to be lasting. And so that's an important element of the work that's done at the Therapeutic Child Care Center as well.
Mm-hmm. Thanks so much for highlighting the fact that we need to break the cycle of homelessness. And it's unfortunate that the children are being born and or being raised in an environment that they haven't chosen in terms of their parents not being able to have access to housing. But it doesn't discredit the fact that we need to invest in children, invest in their education, and make therapeutic childcare services as well as the education accessible to them, and your organization through your programs and after-school programs directed at education and directed at therapeutical services are indeed very impactful, and they can, as mentioned by you, provide a tool to become self-sufficiency for this future adults, for the current children, so they can become and go conquer the world and be self-sufficient and independent.
That's correct. And in fact, for him, as you can imagine, our population was particularly impacted during the pandemic because of their circumstances. These kids, even those who reside with us, a lot of times in our transitional housing, it's basically one room and there are multiple individuals there, and so multiple siblings. That's not very conducive to learning and distance learning. And the kids who have been impacted by distance learning, not just in San Diego or the United States, but across the world, actually, it's been difficult for them. For our population, it's been even more so, because our population, like I said, their living circumstances are such where it's not very conducive to learning. They don't have the technology that they need in order to be effectively connected with their respective schools. So we learned that very early on. So what we did was we created a virtual learning lab within our Therapeutic Child Care Center so that the kids could come into us in a safe environment where they would be distanced. And we had partitions where they're wearing masks, and everything's very sanitized, having the technology that they needed in order to connect to their respective schools. And then we hired resource teachers in order to be able to help them as well. So while the last semester when the pandemic first hit, those last few months before the school year ended was very difficult. We, during the summer of last year, made it a point that was not going to continue for our kids. And so in September, we were up and ready to be able to better equip them so that they could connect and thrive in that environment as best you can thrive in a distance learning type of an environment. So that's just an example of how we adapt to the circumstances and for the betterment of those who we serve.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that you were able to adapt and you were able to provide a space for the children, despite being, despite learning through the distance. They were through a program that you offered, a virtual program. You created a safe space for them to come without distractions and continue their learning, and that's very important. The third aspect the third pillar of care that you're working is making health priority. Could you please tell us how you are making health priority for the individuals that you are supporting?
Absolutely. Health is extremely important for all of us, right? Not just those who are homeless, but those of us who have homes, if we're not well health wise, then we're not good for much of anything else, obviously, because then you can't work and you can't really take care of yourself. So with those who are on the streets, they're particularly mired in ill health. A lot of them, especially if they've been chronically so. There's a tendency of those on the streets to have higher blood pressure, as an example, or more diabetic situations as well. A lot of it has to do with their poor nutrition. They've been on the streets for a relatively long, extended period of time. So these are all things that need to be addressed in order for them to be truly successful and be able to work themselves out of homelessness. So we have a federally qualified health center within our village, and it's really a godsend for those who we serve, because when they come to us and we assess their situation not only as it relates to their housing needs, as it relates to their food insecurity, but and whether they have children and the needs there. But we also assess the situation as it relates to health, and not only physical health, but mental health, and that's so extremely important because such a high percentage of those who are homeless suffer from some level of behavioral health. And so it's either mental health issues that they may have, maybe substance use disorder issues that they have. A lot of those who are on the street self-medicate on the street in order to deal with their own situations, right? So when they come to us, that's part of the assessment and of our health center. And we have a unique relationship with UCSD Medical School. A good number of years ago, they developed a dual residency in psychiatry and family practice. And they needed a clinical site, and we volunteered as their clinical site. And we've been their one and only clinical site actually over the course of these years. And in the process, they've been able to basically educate extremely competent doctors, physicians who have a dual focus, one in family practice and psychiatry. And our clients have benefited from it over the many years as well. So when an individual is seen by a doctor at our health center, that individual may be coming in for a physical issue, but the doctor's also evaluating them from a behavioral health point of view as well, and vice versa. Right, so that's an important element of our clinic. We also embedded within our federally qualified health center and is also a dental clinic. And so, if you were to come to visit us, Karim, in San Diego, one of the things I would show you during a tour is what we call a wall of smiles. And in the wall of smiles, there's the before and after pictures of restorative dentistry. And it makes a world of a difference in the lives of these individuals, not just as it relates to self-esteem, but from the practical point of view of, digestion starts within the mouth, as an example, with teeth. And then even more so practically, who's going to get the job? If you look at these pictures, the before and after, is it the one with teeth or the one without teeth, right? So there's this practical aspect of that as well. So that's helped tremendously also, in being able to help people out of their situations. Again, everything that we do, Karim, is towards with an eye towards getting them out of their situation, and not only on a temporary basis, but on a permanent basis.
Mm-hmm. I love the idea of the wall of smiles and the comparison that you mentioned. Who is more likely to get a job and who is more likely to be successful in interview environment is the person with the better smile and with the better health, and making it a health priority is very important. And unfortunately, many homeless individuals cannot get a proper assessment. And the first step is in the journey of being in a better health shape is getting a proper assessment. And through your corporation, through your health center and corporation with UCD medical school, you are able to address those issues and provide the support, provide a system that can benefit homeless individuals. You earlier.
That's right. And Karim, to that point, we're always looking towards how we can meet people where they are. So a couple of years ago, it was in 2019, actually, we rolled out what we call street health in San Diego. It was the first of its kind in San Diego. And it was a way where our health professionals could go out and meet people on the streets and on the curbs and treat them medically there. So they went out and they bandaged wounds, as an example. They assessed their medical situation, so that if medication had to be prescribed and had to be dispensed, that they could do that there, right? Because we do know that about 30% of those who are on the streets will not access health and medicine in a traditional way in brick and mortar. So again, we're trying to meet individuals where they are, in order to basically help people from dying on the streets, because in any given year, we have a fair number of individuals who die on the streets. And so it's just in the last couple of years, especially during this pandemic time, it's been a godsend. We've been able to build relationships. And so as a result, we've gotten individuals who have become comfortable in then coming into our clinic for additional services. We've been able to really assess the dire situation of certain individuals so that we could get them into hospitals, so that because they were in serious conditions. And right now, this year, we're going to be rolling out psychiatry. And so we'll have psychiatric health professionals who will also be going out with our team to be able to connect with individuals. And again, where they are, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to connect with them where they are. During this pandemic year, obviously, testing has been extremely important. And so our health center has administered more than 6,000 COVID tests, right? And those who are with us in our shelters, we've not only been testing those who have been symptomatic, we've been testing those who have been asymptomatic. And that's been extremely important and has served us well. It's kept us from having spreads of the virus, actually, because we've been able to surface individuals who have been asymptomatic but have had the virus. And with that, we've been able to isolate them and until they've been better, and then reintroduce them into the population. And that's kept us from having major spreads within our shelters as well. So I always give the glory to God. You know, he's always the one that's looking after us. These protocols have served us extremely well. And now, as you can imagine, we're moving into vaccinations. So we've been vaccinated. It's particularly difficult to vaccinate those who are homeless. One primary reason is because it's hard to track them down, and then it's just as hard to get them in for a second dosage, right? So we're vaccinating individuals, and we'll continue that effort as well, because that's extremely important.
What I really like about your approach and what you're doing is you are going to the streets, actually, and you are providing help on the streets, on the demand. And so you're not waiting for homeless individuals to come to you, but you're also going there and being in the front line, helping them and supporting them in the most urgent health and other needs that they require. And I applaud your organization for doing so. If someone would like to support Father Joe's Villages, how can they do so?
Oh, that's an extremely important question, and so I'm glad that you asked me that question, Karim. We can only do what we do through the support and the generosity of our community, and so and I thank those who have always stepped up over the many years to help us in our work. So you can go to neighbor.org. That's neighbor, just like the word, neighbor.org, and that's our website. And there you can access a lot of useful information, a lot of which I've shared with you today, but there's a lot more information there for you as well. You can, if you're in the United States, you can dial 619-446, 619 homeless. That'll make it even easier. So 619 homeless in the United States. So there are various ways of getting a hold of us. The donations are extremely important, cash donations, but not only cash donations. We have thrift stores, Karim, in San Diego. And so we have a number of thrift stores. You can come into our thrift stores. These are items that have been donated to us. They're in extremely good condition. In fact, we always get compliments about the quality of the merchandise that we have, and then the excellent prices that we have. So you can come on in and you can really find great stuff at low prices. And the proceeds get translated into services within our village. We accept donations of cars and automobiles because we have auctions that we do on a daily basis, and we auction everything we get, those types of items off, and especially high, jewelry and so forth that sometimes we get, and we auction it off. And again, the proceeds go to services. Those who are in the area of San Diego, if you want to volunteer with us, we love our volunteers, right? And this past year's been difficult. It's been difficult because of the pandemic, but I can tell you, Karim, that in the pre-COVID, we had 10,000 volunteers I mean, and I love spending time with our volunteers. They have a passion for the work that we do, and they're very compassionate to those who we serve. And so that's a way of getting involved as well. There are many ways. So by all means, reach out to us, reach out to me. One of the areas we touched upon, Karim, is housing, and I want to just share also with your audience what we call the Turning the Key initiative. A few years ago, we realized that, yes, well, again, shelters are important, but the end game is affordable housing, and that San Diego does not have enough affordable housing for our population, those who are homeless. And so we initiated what we call a turning the key, whereby we would be deploying 2,000 affordable housing units into the market, right? And they would come either through new construction or through the acquisition and refurbishment of motels. And I'm happy to report that a year ago, this past January, so it's been 15, 16 months, we broke ground on the largest building of its kind ever in the county of San Diego for our population. It's a 14-story building. It has 407 units, and it will help over 500 individuals off the streets because we have some studios, some one-bedrooms, some two-bedrooms. So it will help families and veterans and those who are disabled. We're as excited as could be. I love giving hard hat tours because I see the progress of this building. And despite the pandemic, we're on schedule and on budget in February of next year. So it's just months away. February of next year, I cannot wait to cut that ribbon. And we'll have these units and we'll be able to help people off the streets. We also, in the midst of the pandemic last year, acquired a motel and we refurbished it. It's 82 spanking new units. I mean, the before and after are amazing. The difference. I mean, you would never know it's the same building. Totally refurbished from top to bottom, and so that we were able to help 82 individuals off the streets. We're in the process that makes up about 500 of the 2,000 that we've committed. So we have another 1,500 units to deploy, and we're looking at some additional motels. We're looking at some new construction on some property. We will continue doing it. So we're blessed to really, as I shared with your listeners, we're blessed in this space of homelessness, really to from soup to nuts in a sense, right? We have the full gamut of comprehensive services that are needed in order to help an individual not only come off the streets, but stay off the streets. 96% of those who we place into permanent housing, you mentioned those 11,000 at the beginning of the show, remember? 96% of those who we place into permanent housing retain that housing long-term. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what we want for them. So I can't thank you enough, Karim, for taking the time.
Thank you. Wonderful. Those are great initiatives, and I applaud your organization for launching them and providing end result, which is the permanent housing and ending the cycle of homelessness. So very well done. For you listening, the link to the Father Joe's Villages website will be provided in the description, so you can go to the website and familiarize yourself with all the projects Deacon Jim and the team at Father Joe Villages is doing and support their mission. Thank you so much, Deacon Jim. It was wonderful to get to know you and very impactful work your organization is doing.
Karim, thank you. God bless you.
Wonderful. For you listening, if you enjoyed this conversation, please press like and share button, because this will show the YouTube algorithm that this conversation is important, that we need to prevent and end homelessness. Thank you, and see you in the next episode.